Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us for this Filmmakers Chat, part of the 20th edition of the New York Asian Film Festival, presented by the New York Asian Film Foundation and the Film at Lincoln Center, running from August 6th to 22nd. So firstly, I would like to extend our thanks to the Korean Cultural Center of New York for sponsoring this South Korean section this year. I'm Claire Marty, one of the programmer and associate director of this festival. Our interpreter for today's conversation is Joanne Zhang, and we are thrilled to present the film that we are discussing here, Fighter, which will play at the Film at Lincoln Center Virtual Cinema from August 7th to the 12th. It will be part of the section called Beyond Borders, which film that tells story about characters confronting different cultures. And it is my honor to introduce director Jéro Yun and lead actress Lim Seong-mi. Welcome. So Jéro Yun, you're an award-winning director and screenwriter from South Korea, but you lived in and studied in France for many years. And in 2016, our festival played your documentary, Mrs. B, a North Korean woman. And your short films were selected in Cannes, la quinzaine des réalisateurs. And your debut feature, Beautiful Day, was the opening film at the Busan International Film Festival. And in Seong-mi, you have many years of acting films, that's including Bong Joon-ho's Mother, many TV series and plays, theater plays, and you play the main character, Gina, in this film beautifully, and you won a Best Actress of the Year at Busan Film Festival. So I would like both of you, if you could, Jéro, if you could introduce your film to the audience, please.
Hello. The Fighter, it's about the woman who's fighting against the world and in searching her dream in the place where she just started her new life. And this is a drama, family drama, but also love story. So you can find a very nice people in the film, especially Lim Seong-mi played lovely in the film. So yeah, that's it.
And thank you. Lim Seong-mi, could you please tell us, introduce your character, Gina, to the audience, please?
진아라는 인물 좀 소개를 해주시겠습니까?
제가 맡은 캐릭터인 리진아라는 인물은 탈북민 출신의 한 여성으로서 남한 사회에서 그리고 서울에서 이제 본인의 삶을 시작해 나가는 그런 인물이고, 그 과정에서 좀 여러 다양한 어떤 에피소드들을 겪게 됐고, 그리고 또 우연히 복싱이라는 어떤 그런 스포츠 장르를 통해서 자신의 삶을 다시 한번 재발견하게 되고, 그리고 그 안에서 만나는 낯선 이들과의 어떤 소통이나 그런 교감을 통해서 그 인물이 한 단계 성장해 나가고, 그리고 더 나아가서는 조금 더 뭐랄까, 약간 스스로 어떤 자립성을 갖게 되는 그런 인물이라고 보면 되겠습니다.
The character Lee Jina in the film that I played in the film is a North Korean refugee, and the Jina is trying to start a new life in South Korea, and more specifically in Seoul. In that process, she experiences a variety of episodes, and she just happens to meet boxing, a new sport for her. And then she discovers her life from a new perspective. In the process, she meets a lot of strangers or new people, and she can now find ways to communicate or to resonate with them. And in that process, she grows up and she gets independent for herself.
Right. So how could you tell us how did you come to collaborate together? Did you know each other before, or was there a casting? How did that come together?
두 분이 어떻게 협업하시게 되셨는지 말씀을 좀 해주시죠.
형님 먼저 하시죠.
It was by my producer with who I worked for Beautiful Days. He didn't produce the fighter, but I worked with another producer. And so one day he presented to me Lim Seong-mi with his agency. And so it was a very quick first meeting that I felt very nicely atmosphere, you know. When I met her, I felt that she can play Gina in the film.
Right.
So it was a wonderful moment. And so we just discussed a little bit, maybe 30 minutes maximum. And then after that, I asked her, you want to play in Fighter? And she said yes. So it was very quick decision between us, I think.
Oh, good. And Seong-mi, did you?
김성미님은 감독님과 어떻게 일을 하시기로 결정을 하셨는지.
일단 그 당시에 제 이제 배우 일을 이렇게 봐주던 이제 에이전시 측에서 시나리오를 먼저 받아서 보게 됐고, 그리고 감독님 전작들도 좀 찾아보고 미팅 전에 그렇게 해서 좀 나름대로 좀 부담스럽지 않게 어필할 수 있는 선에서 미팅을 하게 됐고, 그냥 좀 제가 좀 많이 낯설어하는 편이고 조금 낯가림을 조금 하는 편인데 좀 그런 느낌은 전혀 들지 않았고 그냥 되게 편안하게 낯선 여행지에서 티타임 하는 그런 느낌으로 이야기를 했었고, 그리고 그 자리에서 바로 캐스팅 제안이 들어왔고, 그리고 저도 바로 오케이 하고, 그리고 조금 일사천리로 진행이 됐던 것 같아요. 네.
As Director Yun mentioned, I received the screenplay from my agency, so I could read it before I meeting Director Yun. And I also watched Director Yun's other previous films. So I felt quite comfortable to meet him in that brief meeting. In fact, I am not good at meeting new people, but I didn't feel sort of awkward when I first met Director Yun. So I was really comfortable to talk to him. I felt like we were having a very friendly tea time in the first meeting. So he proposed a casting role in that first meeting, and I accepted it right away. So it was really smooth arrangement.
Oh, that's good. Probably you can tell in the film works really well. There's lots of close-ups. It feels like there's a good chemistry with the director and actress. So that went quite smoothly. What was the hardest challenge making this film then? What difficulty did you face?
In fact, it was the time. It means because all the time when I'm making a fiction, in Beautiful Days in my previous film was same case, because it was an independent film, so we didn't have enough money. So it was very low budget film in comparison Europe or United States. So it was my challenge all the time, how I can make this film with a short time to prepare, short time to shoot, and short time in post-production. So in Beautiful Days, I shoot for 15 days and Fighter 14 days only. So, my challenge, it was how I can deal with the actors and with my staff, my team, and how I can convince the producer and with this short time. So this is a challenge, but and in the same time, it's also it's also a very difficult moment for me as film director. So I think, and then when everything is going well and with nice actors, nice team, finally, it was very good atmosphere to make this film. So I think, I think that's all.
Right. And for Seong-mi, for example, your character Gina, she's a fighter in many ways. She's not only it's not only the physical acting, but you also convey such a broad emotional range, and also have to deliver your lines in a North Korean accent. What was the hardest challenge for you preparing for the role and shooting?
네, 임성미 배우님께서는 이진아 역할을 하시면서 사실 그 인물이 파이터잖아요. 그래서 물리적으로도 신체적으로도 그런 파이터의 인상을 전달해야 되지만 또 감성도 굉장히 다양한 그 감성 폭을 전달하셨어야 됐는데 거기다가 북한 억양까지도 사용하셨어야 됐고 그래서 이 영화 만드시면서 가장 어려웠던 점은 어떤 점이셨나요?
가장 어려웠던 점을 꼽으라고 한다면 조금 시간적인 여유가 아니었을까라는 생각이 들고요. 그리고 좀 그 언어적인 부분에서만큼은 조금 완벽하게 표현하고자 하는 그런 좀 욕심이 있었던 것 같아요. 왜냐하면 특히나 모국어이기도 하고 한데 더더군다나 이제 북한 사투리로 연기를 했어야 됐었으니까 오히려 다른 제2의 외국어보다도 더 완벽하게 구사를 해야지만이 조금 더 사실적으로 이 영화가 관객들한테 다가갈 수 있겠다는 판단이 들어서 좀 그런 부분, 그 부분에서 조금 더 많은 할애를 했고요. 왜냐하면 신체적인 부분들은 정말 이 시간이 더 많이 들이면 들일수록 사실을 완벽하게 할 수 있는 부분인데 그 부분에서는 조금 제가 좀 시간한테 양보를 했던 것 같고 네, 좀 제가 할 수 있는 최대한은 그 감정의 폭을 조금 더 넓게 가져가는 거 그리고 거기 안에서 조금 더 자유로워지려면 언어를 좀 더 완벽하게 내 말로 해내야 됐었다는 거 네, 그 부분을 좀 얘기하고 싶은데요.
I think the biggest part for this film was actually the limit of time, as director Yun mentioned.
Oh, wow.
And I made the best effort to speak the perfect language. Korean is my mother tongue, but then North Korean dialect is quite new to me. However, I try to do it better than other foreign languages because I believed the audience would be persuaded by the perfect language. So I think I put in more efforts in that part. For the physical part of my acting, I obviously needed more time. So, but as Director Yun mentioned, we had limited time, so I couldn't make it perfect. So I rather focus my time and effort to sort of deliver a variety of emotions and feelings. And then to do that, I wanted to sort of make my language perfect. That was the biggest challenge for me.
Right. And were there some part of Gina that you felt you could relate to and used your own experience to add to this role?
그 이진아 역할을 하시면서 그 성격 중에 본인의 성격과 좀 유사한 부분이 있다고 느끼셨는지, 그래서 본인의 경험을 부영해서 연기를 하신 부분이 있으신지요?
좀 약간 승부욕? 저도 좀 승부욕이 좀 있는 편이어서 시작을 하면 끝을 봐야 된다라는 그런 주의라 좀 그 부분에 조금 진아에게 다가가는데 조금 좀 더 이렇게 좀 더 공감을 조금 많이 했던 것 같고, 그리고 어떤 개인적인 경험과 조금 연결시킬 수 있다면 저도 뭐 진아처럼까지는 아니지만 어릴 때 조금 부모님이랑 좀 따로 떨어져서 지냈던 시간들이 조금 있었어요. 그래서 그 부분을 조금 상기했던 시간들이 좀 있었던 것 같아요. 그리고 이제 뭐 스스로 혼자서 이제 스스로 살아가야 한다는 것도 그렇고 그런 부분들 아주 특별하게 생각해서 그 공감점을 찾았다기보다는 좀 더 보편적인 감정들을 좀 많이 찾아서 살리려고 했던 것 같아요. 네.
I think maybe my strong sense of competition, that would be some similar point between me and the role of Gina. You know, if I start something, I really want to finish it. So in that sense, I think we have some similarities. For my personal experience, I maybe not as hard as Gina, but I myself was separated from my parents for some time when I was young. So when I was playing Gina, I reflected on that part of my experience. And then, you know, the fact we all have to live alone. I think that sense of independence can sort of resonate with anybody's experiences. So rather than trying to produce some special emotions or feelings, I try to convey sort of more universal or general emotions and feelings to the audience.
Right, thank you. And Jéro, also, most of the films that you've done that I've seen seems to be focused on women. Like the short film you made, Promise, was about an immigrant Korean woman in France. Beautiful Days, the documentary, Mrs. B, a North Korean woman, which played NYAFF as well in 2016. What compelled you to make female-centric films as a starting point of your stories?
As you mentioned, I think it all my personal research about Korean people scattered in the world. It's from this woman who I met in Paris. So she was in illegal situation, and I was very curious of her origin, because she was from the place where we call North Korea today. So, and then after this film, I was interesting to meet the people, scattered people, especially from Korean origin, you know. And so when I met many Korean people in the world, especially in Asia, and naturally many women I met from North Korea, for example. So naturally everything that I'm working in the same theme about family story, separation, or suffering by something, by border. So my personal research today is from this travel meeting and discussion with the real people, you know. So So in the percentage, of course, I met also some men, but I think if I remember 80% it was women. So naturally I inspired for the fiction too. And I think, yeah, I think that's all. Yeah.
Right. And before, like, before this encounter in France with that woman, were you thinking of making films? Because you studied art in France, didn't you? I saw that you studied in Nancy and then Paris. And
Yeah, I was more in experimental film before, and I started to know about the cinema in the school, and but before Promise, I think I made more drama, but I'm not really interested by the fiction. I think before I was more like experimental or something art movie or art thing, and then small by small, step by step, I was interested by cinema, and especially from French movie, you know.
right.
And for example, Truffaut or Godard, and you know, it's very classic, but it was a new form for me. It was a new form for the people who knew already cinema, but for me who never learned cinema in the school, for example. So I was all the time in the art school. So it was very, very difficult for me and to how I can learn the cinema. And watching many classic French movie, I learned many things, and I think it's from this moment that I'm still making the film today.
Right. I grew up with François Truffaut, of course, and I think you keep rewatching them, and any of his films, they never age. And what about you, Seong-mi? Which what inspired you to be an actress? Did you have a filmmaker or an actress and actors that you inspired you?
윤상미님은 그 배우라는 직업을 갖게 되시는데 어떤 모델이 된 그 배우나 영화 감독이 계신지요?
너무 많죠. 너무 많은데 일단 제가 요즘에 조금 리서치를 좀 하고 있는 배우와 감독은 한국 배우 중에서는 전도연 배우를 조금 리서치하고 있고, 또 메릴 스트립 배우를 되게 좋아해요. 그리고 그분이 지향하고자 하는 어떤 작품, 그러니까 뭔가 연기관이라던가 그걸 좀 넘어서서 약간 그분의 휴머니티가 굉장히 마음에 들고, 또 감독으로서는 요즘에는 스티븐 맥퀸 감독님 영화를 조금 보고 있어요. 그 중에서도 좀 쉐임이라는 영화를 조금 재밌게 봤는데, 좀 지금의 현대 사회에 좀 되게 걸맞는 그런 영화가 아니었나라는 생각하면서 좀 보고 있습니다.
In fact, I have maybe too many actors and actresses and film directors who have inspired me to get this acting job. But more recently, I study a couple of actors and actresses and directors. For example, in Korea, I study the works of actress Jeon Jung. And for the Western side, I really love Meryl Streep. I love her views for acting, and especially her humanity. And for film directors, I like works of Steve McQueen. I watched several of his works, but very recently I watched Shame, which I think has a lot of implications for our modern society.
Wow, thanks. So, going back to Fighter, to the film, we mentioned earlier when we talked about focusing on women and Gina and the experience of being separated from family. It's something that you also have a recurring theme that you explored in your work, the parents who have separated from their children and moving to a better life. That's quite strong in Gina's case in the film. Like her mother has a completely new family. Have you come across many cases as well in your research when you were making all these films? Because it's also in the other films. Yeah, can you please talk about this film, this theme?
Yeah, when I was traveling in Asia, for example, in looking for North Korean people for documentary, and so I met many people. So in fact, many young women separated with family, try to earn the money in other place.
Right.
So Gina's case, I met so many, and also in Korea, we have many North Korean migrant try to settle down in South Korea and with the South Korean culture and try to learn. And especially Gina's case, when I met, and many parents or mother or father, especially mother, remarried with another guy in South Korea and try to have a new life, you know. I saw some cases, and but also some young women try to have marriage with a Korean guy, for example, have a new family, and like Mrs. B's case, and have children in China, for example, but she couldn't live with the Chinese family. She wanted to live in Korea, for example. So many women have in the situation between two families, or it's you know, almost like a border, you know, they are in the border, so they couldn't have another choice anyway.
Right.
So I met many cases, and of course I inspired by this true story in the fiction, like Gina's case, or in The Beautiful Days, for example.
Right. And so you're talking about Mrs. B, a Korean woman. So it seems like you've used your experience in documentaries for Fighter. It felt, watching it felt like a balance between realism of documentaries and mixed with the romance drama, family. So now that you've made short documentaries, film feature, which format would you say you prefer to deliver your stories?
For me, you know, format is not the question, and every form can be good for the story. You know, if some stories it's better in documentary, so I try to make documentary, but another story it's better in fiction, in feature, or in short, I try to make it. So I adapt, in fact, from the story can have a which form, you know, and in cinema. So I don't try to focus in only for that. Try just for me, the theme, the subject is more important than form, cinema form. So it's just a different style and different time technically how in the fiction or in documentary or in a short film. So yeah, I think that's all.
So you will continue to make either documentary or feature depending on your story.
Yeah, of course.
Makes sense. Makes sense. And what about you, Seong-mi? What do you like the most about acting? Do you try to would you rather do some intense, challenging leading role, or want to go towards more like lighter comedies? What kind of role do you prefer?
임성미 배우님께서는 지금 그 다양한 연기를 하실 텐데, 좀 이렇게 이번 파이터처럼 무거운 주제에서 주연 이런 걸 좋아하시는지, 아니면 조금 더 가벼운 그런 코미디에서의 역할들을 선호하시는지, 연기에서 어떤 선호하시는 영역이 있으신지요?
딱히 영역을 정해놓고 선호하는 장르는 없어요. 예전에 연기 공부를 할 때는 조금 그런 호불호가 되게 강했었던 편이었던 것 같은데, 활동을 하고 작업을 하면서 그 경계나 어떤 장르나 어떤 연기의 어떤 폭들이 조금씩은 이렇게 허물어지고, 또 좀 뭐라 그럴까? 그 선들이 조금 이렇게 불분명해지는 것 같아요. 그렇지만 여태까지 제가 해왔던 작품들이나 혹은 역할들을 보면 조금 고민을 좀 많이 하고, 또 어렵고, 또 좀 조금 도전적인 그런 인물들을 많이 맡았던 것 같은데, 사실 코미디 장르도 좋아하고, 또 스릴러 장르도 되게 좋아하고, 좀 앞으로 못 해본 것들, 혹은 좀 제가 조금 개인적인 배우의 어떤 연기 영역이 조금 더 넓어질 수 있는 그런 작품들을 좀 해보고 싶어요.
I don't have any specific roles or genres I prefer. In fact, when I was studying acting, I think I had very strong preferences for some specific genres. But now, as a professional in the field, I don't have such clear boundaries between genres or roles. I rather the marks between genres for me are now obscure. If you look at the roles I've played in different films and dramas, you could see I've taken quite difficult, challenging, and very complex roles, but I also am interested in, as you mentioned, light comedies or thriller genres as well. So I'd rather work to expand my sort of capacity to take up or to work in any roles or in any genres.
Right. What did you personally learn? What did you learn from making the film Fighter, or from director Jéro Yun?
그 배우님께서 이번에 파이터 작품 하시면서 이 작품으로부터 혹은 윤 감독님으로부터 배우신 게 있다면 어떤 것이 있을까요?
일단 작품을 통해서는 처음부터 끝까지 이 영화를 책임지고 이끌어가는 주인공으로서, 또 처음부터 끝까지 등장해서 어떤 모든 장면을 책임지는 그런 인물로서 굉장히 많이 배웠고, 또 많은 제 안에 좀 많은 성장을 이뤄냈던 그런 작품이었던 것 같고, 그리고 감독님으로부터는 지치지 않는 열정과 그리고 어떤 순간순간 위기, 그러니까 현장에서 맞닥뜨려졌던 위기나 어떤 문제를 직면했을 때 그 문제들을 이렇게 되게 유연하고 또 아주 효율성 있게 그 부분들을 이렇게 잘 넘어가시는, 잘 위기를 잘 헤쳐나가는, 해결해 나가는 그런 모습들을 보고 멋있다고 생각했죠. 감독님으로서.
Now, from this work, I was a leading role present in all the scenes throughout the film. So, in fact, I learned a lot from that responsibility, and I think I could grow internally a great deal with that sense of responsibility. And from director Yun, I was sort of amazed by his passion and energy. Now, in the shooting field, you face a lot of problems and risk situations. But then I was sort of astonished or, amazed by his ability to resolve them really smoothly and efficiently. So he gave me a lot of good lessons.
Right. And Jéro, regarding your film, has it played in Korea? Have you been able to play it in the cinemas?
Yes, it's in this year.
I mean, it played in Busan, isn't it? It played physically in Busan. So were you able to feel the reactions? Are you satisfied with how the films was received in Korea? Do you feel good response from the audience and the media? How did you feel about this?
When Fighter was released in theater in March, many people called me, and it was a nice moment, especially, focused about the Lim Seong-mi actress. I really wanted to her in focused by many media, because
Right.
Lim Seong-mi, that who I discovered in this film, was really amazing. So when I explained about this film to her in preparing this film, I remember I tell her it's really important your character, that all my team try to support you, because your character is really the heart of the cinema, heart of this film. So she did it, she made it. I was really happy that many media people appreciated about her character and Lim Seong-mi. So for that, yes, I was really happy, and very good press we have it. And yeah.
So it wasn't unnoticed. She won the best actress. It was the NetPac Award at Busan.
Yeah.
Welcome, congratulations.
Thank
So
you.
in terms of since you've been doing these films with the topic of refugees, North Koreans settling in South Korea, do you feel socially conscious changes over the years in Korea?
It's very difficult to answer, because I don't really have this feeling that our country, South Korea, evoluted really in this case. And because it looks like soccer, it's all the time we try to do something, finally we come back in the start point. So I feel all the time like that. It's repeat. We try, but it's something like, we must just restart from zero, So when I call, for example, Mrs. B in real life, because I'm still connected with her and her family, her situation is not really, maybe she can be fine, in comparison, her life before, but not like she expected anyway. So when I finished this film 2016, and it's already 6 years, almost 5 years passed, and so when I heard about some North Korean people in South Korea, for example, their life is not really, it's just fine, but you know, not, it's difficult anyway. So for them, and because it still exists, the discrimination in Korea against North Korean people, and we have because they have accent, North Korean accent. Because North Korean accent is when you heard in subway, for example, and suddenly, you know, they don't watch you like a friend, you know, so, or neighborhood. So probably this North Korean accent have some problem in Korea, especially Korean society try to put this North Korean accent like a problem. So, and when I met some young North Korean refugee in South Korea, in fact, they try to erase North Korean accent, to try to be South Korean people, South Korean look in South Korean accent. So this transformation for me is very strange, very weird, and they try to forget their origin or where they are from. And for me, this is very important to keep this in your heart, you know. But just because Korean society isn't really ready to, you know, receive the North Korean people culturally or, you know, psychologically and systematically too. So, yeah.
Right. And so you're going to continue to develop project on this particular topic, North Korean refugees. What do you have? What's next for you? Are you preparing a project at the moment?
I'm working on for 2 projects. One is documentary, one is a fiction. And the fiction movie, it's about also North Korean family. This is my last family story that I will try to finish. And it's this new project. It started to, in fact, 2012 in Ciné Fondation in Cannes Film Festival residency. So I wrote that, and then finally I restart this story and with the Korean producer. And so if we will have lucky, and maybe next 2 years later, maybe you can see this film. And so this is also part of my 3 film, from Beautiful Days, Fighter, and last film will be Secret of My Father. So yeah, I'm still working about North Korean people and South Korean society, and that I try to show what's the problem here.
Right, and Seong-mi, before we wrap, what's your project coming? If you can speak about it, of course.
네, 임성미 배우님께서는 지금 다음 작업하고 계시는 작품이 있으신지요?
지금은 검토 중에 있고요. 좀 확정된 프로젝트는 아직 없어요. 빠른 시일 내에 더 좋은 인물 맡아서 좋은 작품으로 또 인사드릴게요.
I'm just reviewing some options, so I don't have anything specific for now, but I'll do my best to meet my audience again with a good title role.
Great. Looking forward to this. I hope this time we can all travel and meet in New York. So thank you so much, Jéro and Seong-mi, for taking time to speak with me today. So we look forward to the screening of Fighter, which will launch on August 7 to 12. And we would like also to thank all our virtual audience members who are joining this year from across the country, because New York Asian Film Festival is will stream nationwide. If for some information on this year's festival and to buy tickets, you can head to our website, NYAFF.org. So very happy to have met you virtually and to seeing your next project. Thank you very much.